What is up, everybody? It's been a slight minute, but in this video, we're going to break down South Carolina and what they need to do to make it to that next tier. Because this team has all the talent in the world, and they've recruited very well. They've brought in very good transfer portal pieces, and they've changed the coaching staff. And there are a lot of reasons to believe that this team will succeed. But under Shane Beamer, this is a make it or break it year for the Gamecocks because the talent's there. They just got to put it down and do it on the field. So first thing, this team is top 5 in returning production, which means we can look at the last 2 years and it will be a pretty good gauge as to what the team next year might be able to become. So look at 2025. 2025 was a very good year. A win that they should have had was LSU. They played better than LSU in that game, and they lost. There was some terrible officiating that weekend, if I'm being honest with you. That very easily could have been a win. Ole Miss was a disaster. Alabama was such a close loss. And then they finished the season on that win streak. They beat Clemson. They beat Texas A&M. Illinois was a bowl game. Who really cares? But in 2026, it all flipped. Every game that they were winning a year ago, they were losing. And it really started up front. The 2026 team had some of the worst offensive line play I've ever seen in my life. They had an inability to run the football. And the defense was good, but it not necessarily wasn't great. And I don't quite think it was to the level that the 2025 team had. And the 2026 team had humongous expectations. And they fell remarkably short. And some of those games that just popped off the page for me was Alabama. I mean, if Lenora Sellers doesn't fumble, they probably should have won that game. And they played good enough to win it. You had that pick 6 in the first quarter. Clemson was just a disaster. Ole Miss game was just a disaster. This team should have had such a better record than it did in 2026. That's my point. And my thing is they returned so much production, and most of that production, they returned in 2026 as well from 2025. This has been a team that has been built year after year after year, and they've retained, and now they finally got to put it together. So in the offseason, how will they put it together? The number one thing that matters is returning production. Can you return guys year over year? And that matters so much nowadays in college football because continuity is huge in this sport. There's 11 guys on offense, there's 11 guys on defense, and especially on defense and especially on the offensive line. To be honest with you, it doesn't matter how great of players you have if they don't play well together. You can have a great cornerback, but if he doesn't make good signal exchanges with a safety, they're going to have blown coverages. You saw it all the time with Texas A&M a year ago. They had great talent on the outside, but they gave up a bunch of explosive plays because they didn't necessarily play incredibly well together. As well as that, Lenora Sellers has some good chemistry with these wide receivers, but the wide receivers play needs to be better. Harbor needs to be one of the top 5 wide receivers in college football because I know for a fact next year, and you hear all the NFL hype right now about how fast guys are and how many times they can lift weight off their body because that's a very football play. Nick Harbor is going to do it better than anybody else next year. I promise you he will win the combine significantly. He's 6'5". He can bench press the thing damn near 30 pounds, or 30 times, and he can run his 40 in 4.3, maybe 4.4. He's one of the fastest guys in the country. Same thing with Lenora Sellers. Lenora Sellers has the arm talent. He honestly has the IQ, although he does make some poor decisions sometimes, but generally it's because the team just wasn't great a year ago around him, and his arm accuracy is really good. So, the offensive line needs to get better. But the defense, I think, will be fine. And they return a ton of production as well. And that's why it comes down to what's going to be the most important aspect of this South Carolina team next year, which is coaching. A year ago, the offensive coordinator play was awful. I could have predicted what they were going to run during their next play. And I'm not one of those guys who thinks Shane Beamer's a bad coach. I think he's a really good coach because he has South Carolina in a position that they're not necessarily in, consistently. And that's a position where they have a blue chip ratio that's top 15 in the country. They have a 47% blue chip ratio. They have the talent in the building, and they've shown it. I mean, Tennessee was a game away from most likely playing in the college football playoffs, 3 years ago, and South Carolina beat them. And he's beat Clemson when I think Clemson's had a better roster. But now he has the talent. He did the really difficult part, which is stand out in the SEC and convince really talented high school kids to come to your school. But now he has to go in and consistently beat good teams and not lose to teams that he should beat. But when you look at the talent on this roster, the head coach and Shane Beamer should be fine. The offensive coordinator needs to be great. They went and got a good one. But now you have Lenora Sellers. You have Harbor. You have Jacarius Peaks as one of the best offensive linemen in the country. I mean, the guy is a 3-year starter at NC State, a high-level 3-year starter at NC State. This team has the talent, but you gotta play better on Saturdays. So let's do a rough over-under win projection. So right now the win total's at 6.5. Kent State, Towson, Mississippi State, those three just have to be wins. They have to be wins. On the road at Alabama, this is the first really true test for both of these teams, I think. And Alabama certainly has some problems, particularly running the ball. I still think is a ginormous flaw on that team. They're also this is gonna be the first big game for Alabama's starting quarterback, no matter which one they choose. I'm not saying South Carolina can win that game, but they gotta play it tough. Kentucky, Florida, Tennessee. In my opinion, if this team wants to make a college football playoffs, those three have to be wins. They have to be wins. I personally will predict them to win 2 out of the 3. I think they drop one of those games. Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Georgia. Another one of those stretches that's really, really difficult. What intrigues me the most about this stretch, you get A&M at home, you get Georgia at home. The whole A&M thing a year ago was a utter disaster. You were up 30 points, and you lost, which should never happen. Georgia, when they go to Williams-Brice, it's normally a pretty darn good game. And it's late in the year, and has Georgia Tech the week after. Sleeper. So what do I think South Carolina is going to do? I think they're going to figure it all out. I think they go 9-3. I think they will kill 6.5, but it's going to come down to one-score games. I could be very wrong, like openly. I could be very wrong and have a very poor read on this team, and maybe the offensive line doesn't get better. And maybe Nick Harbert doesn't learn how to run routes at a slightly higher level and to catch the ball more consistently. And maybe the offensive coordinator play isn't better, and I can still project what they're going to call on the next play. But I think with the amount of talent that this team has, I think they get it together. And I think they're going to pick up some really tough wins early. I don't think they beat Alabama, but I think they play that game really tough, and I think that gives them the confidence to go on a little run. If I'm Georgia late in the year, I wouldn't necessarily be scared, but I'd be slightly worried. I think South Carolina's going to have a really good year next year, guys. If you guys are new here, let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe and leave a like if you